do say that I don't know if a God, well, once again, whatever that might be, exists or not. I do know that a God of the Bible cannot exist. Like the God as he is represented in the Bible. But the problem with this is that Christopher Hitchens made a comment about how he finds it ironic that people refer to God as a personal God, because like how actually accurate that is without them realizing it. That the God of the Bible is a different person to everyone who reads it. You can interpret it any way you want. It's like your idea of who God. I was having a conversation with my co-host on Left Wing, John Cooper, and he was saying that he gets annoyed when people say that Muslims and Christians worship the same God. I was like, well, they do. I mean, like it's the same. It's a continuation, you know. It's like, and he goes, yeah, technically, but he's like, but technically, Adam West Batman and Christian Bale's Batman are the same character, but they're not. They're very. I was like, that's actually a good way to put it. I thought that was genius. That was a really good way to put it because, I like that. Yeah, you can. I'm sure someone could present me with their view of the Abrahamic God of, let's just limit it to the 66 books of the Bible, and present it in a way where I was like, okay, I guess that God could exist. But the way he's classically known, like the deity who said, let there be light, and he was three persons. He had a son and sent him to earth and gave the Mosaic laws. Decided that, like you said, tens of billions, hundreds of billions of galaxies. He crafted atoms. He holds them together with the four fundamental forces of nature, and decided, wow, to fix this problem of sin, I'm going to have people do animal sacrifices, slitting their throats for hundreds of years to cover their sin, and then send my kid to be... There's no fucking chance that a God that's that powerful and that intelligent fucked up on slavery or fucked up on, owning women as sex slaves. This is insane. So no, that God cannot logically exist in any way. And I know that for a fact, because Christianity is the religion I know the best, and I know enough about a few others. Like, I don't think that one is either. So yeah, being a specific agnostic atheist, all right, I'm on board with that. That's kind of true.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, that sounds like a video I recently made where I was asking Christians to make it make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense that this all-powerful being who made 10,000 galaxies, the only way he was able to save the human race for a situation that he conveniently set up, by the way, with if you believe in original sin and everything, that the only way he was able to actually save the human race was to come down and sacrifice himself to himself by going through like the most painfully spiritual and physical excruciating torture execution known to man. But it would only, he was going to go through all that, but it would only work for you if 2,000 years later on shaky evidence you believe in all this other crazy shit. Like, if I'm going to come to Earth and go through all that pain, I'm going to make sure it covers everybody. I'm like, if I'm going through all of this, everybody gets covered. I don't want to go through all of this and only have 1 out of 10 people actually have it help, because they're going to be required to believe all this other crazy ish in order for all this pain and agony that I went through to work. Like, he can create 10,000 galaxies, thousands of galaxies, but this was the best solution he came up with to save the human race. I don't think so.
The one that I think of that always gets me, this one actually got me as a Christian. My favorite ones are the ones that like cracked the armor early on, but I found a way to like paper over it. The Bible itself always seems strange to me, because so here we go. Like you said, we have all-knowing deity said that he has a problem with how do I get my message to mankind? How do I let them know here are the answers to the most important questions in your existence? I know what I'll do. I'll pick a few dozen people over the course of a few hundred years and have them write my thoughts and my will to them. I'm going to have it written in 3 languages. 3 languages alone. That's what's going to be written in. And I'm going to send it to a population that's 90% illiterate. They won't be able to read it. They're gonna have to trust the words of the rich and the powerful to tell them what I think. And then it's like, no. If someone brought that idea to you, you would say that's stupid. That is why would you're just guaranteeing that these people will be slaves to those who already have the power by withholding the most important info they could have. It's like, oh, I'm not done yet. All right. So this information that I have, I'm gonna keep it away from 2 continents for thousands of years. Like, I will go down and talk to my disciples myself and specifically tell them, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel, baptize in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and not mention, hey, there's 2 continents of people out there you don't know about. Get someone on that. Like, start building boats right away. The last thing I want to hear is that it took 1,500 years for people to get this information. I look at this as like, there's no chance you can believe this. This is why I say that atheists actually have a higher opinion of God than believers do. Like,
totally.
What?
No, I was just agreeing with you. And what you said actually reminded me of one argument you hear from evangelical Christians as to like why God commanded the genocide of the Canaanites. He says, well, because the Canaanites were doing baby sacrifices and there were all these horrible things, and God needed to sell that. So what about Genghis Khan happening? Did God not care about what Genghis Khan? What about the baby sacrifices that were happening in South America by those? Did he not care about those? Like, this was not the only place in the world where people were sacrificing babies. But apparently, this was the only place that God decided he needed to save the babies from being sacrificed. Oh, by the way, he's ordering the genocide of babies because of baby sacrifices. That makes no sense.
I cannot believe the hoops people jump through to defend this shit.
Like
It is comical. It is because these questions now, and the thing is, most of them aren't surprised by these questions. They've had them too. I was there. I remember I was asking specifically about the genocides. And of course, you got the same answers that, well, look, these people were sacrificing their babies to Moloch. And I said, all right, so God said to you think everyone in that community was sacrificing babies to Moloch, including the babies themselves, apparently. Does that seem like God says, hey, kill the soldiers, kill the civilians, the women, the children, the infants, the fucking animals? I said, no, I need a better answer than they were bad people. No, that doesn't compute for me at all. And like the really funny ones are the slavery defenses. Those ones, I can't get enough of those. I can't get enough of them, where they'll say, well, you got to understand the ancient economy was dependent upon slave labor. So God's hands were tied. So you got to be kidding me. This is an insult.
He had no choice. He had to do it.
What was he going to do? What was he going to do?
What was he supposed to do?
That's what they say. They literally say that. We're not making this up. They'll say that, well, God, he couldn't tell them not to own slaves because either A, it would have destroyed the economies, because God is limited by the primitive economies of ancient man. Like that's so iron chariots and primitive economies are God's kryptonite. And then they'll say, well, then my favorite one is when they say, well, God couldn't tell them that because, like, if he did, they just wouldn't listen. They would have owned slaves. And it's like he told them, like, into excruciating detail exactly how much grain to use for a burnt offering. Otherwise, he would kill you. But no, I can't tell them to not own slaves. And also, if they wouldn't listen to him, why give them any rules at all? Like, why did he stop just short of like the most obvious example of immorality? Oh, also, side note on this, another great obvious example. Can someone tell me what the age of consent is in the Bible? Tell me. I'd love to know. I would love to know what the age of consent is in the Bible, because it ain't fucking there. It's not. Like, the closest thing you can get, there's a verse or two that says something about, like, the age of maturation, or like, oh, like when for women, I guess, is like when they're able to reproduce. So the age of consent is like 12 in the Bible or something, or whenever you hit puberty. If you hit it at 9, there you go. And it's like I think God could have like said, oh, by the way, don't fuck kids. Never bothered to do it.
Nope, he did. But here's the thing. They're so indoctrinated, they don't even realize how brainwashed they are. I was watching one YouTube channel I watch is called The Line, and it's this, and it's kind of like an offshoot of Atheist Experiment. And it's these call-in shows where people can call in, and it's usually like some believer, like a theist, a Christian, calling into these the hosts are usually atheists, right? And it's like, tell us what you believe and why you believe it, and we're going to give you some pushback to have you critically critically. And I remember there was this one call, and they were trying to talk, and the caller was trying to get the host was trying to get the caller to understand that the God of the Bible that they worship actually does some pretty messed up ish. And they were saying, do you believe that it is just to punish somebody for someone else's crime? The caller said, no, that's not right. So, okay. Now, since Adam and Eve had not eaten of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, did they know right from wrong when God told them not to eat of the tree? And she said, no, because they hadn't eaten of the tree. They didn't even know right from wrong, good from evil, because they hadn't eaten of the tree yet. So she acknowledged that it's not right. And they said, do you think it is right to punish somebody for something that they didn't know? And she said, no. So do you think it's right to punish somebody for a crime they didn't commit? No. Do you think it's right to punish someone for something if they didn't know? No. Do you think Adam and Eve knew that it was wrong to eat because they ate it? No. She affirmed all that. So with all of that, was it just for God to A, punish Adam and Eve, and B, punish the entire human race, curse the entire human race for something we didn't do and something they didn't know was wrong at the time they did it? Yes.
Every time. I just
it's, you can't, like you said, you can't make this up. Anyway, that is indoctrination. That is brainwashing.
Yeah, it is. And it's very fun. So I'm of two minds with this, because it's incredibly frustrating when you just lay out these facts to folks. And I remember having these thoughts myself and struggling with them. And right. I don't remember like vehemently defending genocide in the Bible. I remember it really bothering me, right? I remember saying, wow, that's weird. Someone help me out. Like, there's got to be an answer here. I don't remember ever like berating someone saying, how dare you say this is wrong? Who do you think you are? You're not gonna. Maybe I did. I don't recall, because I remember it bothering me from a very young age. So it's funny when people will go to bat for, biblical slavery or, misogyny, or pretending the Bible is not misogynistic. I can't go. I can't keep going. I'm going to be here all day. But it is refreshing, but still weird. I still can't do it. I know not everyone thinks like me. I get it. But I sometimes I just like, how did you get here? But whenever like folks like McClellan or whatever, who are Christians, and like, hey, I'm just going to pick the good parts of the Bible and tell you the bad parts are there and try to spread a positive message and help people. Hey, I'm all for it. And I run across this with, you mentioned with Rob Bell. I confused him with another guy, but I remember that book because it was a big firestorm back in the day. I think it was like 20 years ago. I think it's been a long time that book came out.
2011. So it was
okay, well, so not quite 20, so 14 years ago. Yeah. And he was, I remember people being really upset because like BlerdRonner, Ron mentioned that I never read the book, but I remember people saying that he's a universalist. And for those of you wondering what that means, is that eventually everyone gets to heaven. However it might happen, if you're a really terrible person like Genghis Khan or something, you may suffer in torment for 1,000,000 years or so, but you'll be purged and you'll be, however you get there, God's love is powerful enough. And I got to tell you, that made sense to me. It did, because like you mentioned, if God's plan to fix, his own problem is that I need to solve this problem of sin with humanity and be united with them, I'm going to sacrifice myself and the power of my blood will cover their sin. Why wouldn't that be enough? Why would there need to be an extra step of someone else coming in and a human being who is not God? I can't stress this enough. Human beings are not God. All right. It's like, I tell this to people, like, people say that, well, God loves you and that's why he wants you to go to heaven. It's like, well, if he loves me, why would he send me to hell? That doesn't seem like something you do to someone you love. Well, no, you know what I'm going to say? You actually send yourself to hell. You send yourself. Like,
I cannot stand that.
I know. It's like, actually, you send yourself there, you see, because God is telling you, maybe you may never hear this news, but he's telling you at least, like, this is how you go to heaven. And if you reject that, you go to hell and you deserve it. And I said, okay, so in this analogy here, God is our father, right? And we are his children. If your kid was sitting outside in a blizzard and you said, hey, here's how you come inside and get warm, it'll save you from the blizzard. And your kid, like your 7-year-old, says, no, I don't want to. You're going to let the kid sit out there and die in the blizzard? Because that's what God's doing. God is telling someone who has no comprehension of the basic universe we live in, let alone a separate one that we've never seen before, and saying, all right, just take my word on this. This will work. And how could you blame like dumbass human beings, half a chromosome away from being chimpanzees, for not figuring this out? And you're going to punish them for eternity. I can't. What's eternity?
All times.
It's. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I wasn't saying anything. I was just co-signing.
Yeah, it's just like, think of the most, like, we have the most evil people that you can think of in human history or whatever. All the crime that they did, none of it adds up to an eternity of torture. None of it. You could put them through torture for 100 million years, 500 million years. Eventually it's enough, right? Eventually you've atoned for these crimes. You suffered way more than any suffering you've caused. But God, the all-loving, all-knowing God's like, not enough. Nope, stay there, consciously suffering for all eternity. It's like, I don't believe that. This is interesting. I bring this up a lot to people, like for Christians that because I'm sure you still know several believers, and I do too. One thing that I love to ask them, like people who know me, who are my friends, who've known me for decades, and I say, okay, so I'm not a believer. I don't believe in any of this. I think it's nonsense. I don't accept that Jesus or God or anything like that. Do you think me, TJ Whitehead, the person you've known for 25 years, I deserve to be tortured in like excruciating pain for the rest of eternity? I love asking this because the answers that they usually give, it's the first answer they give is, well, I believe you were saved before. So no, stop. All right, you can't have both ways, right? The eternity. Don't play the security of the believer card with me. I'm not a believer. Now, assuming that I didn't actually get saved, like that person, do I deserve to be tortured for eternity? And then they'll say, well, that's what the Bible says. I did not ask what the Bible says. I'm asking, do you, like, if you were making the rules, is that what you would think is fair? They have a real hard time answering it. And then they'll eventually, it's like, well, I might not, but I'm not God. It's like, okay, what if you don't think that's just, why would you trust a God who does? Now, if you ask this to a stranger Christian, yeah, they might say, yeah, fuck you, you deserve to burn. But I'm talking about people you know and love, and like who don't want to say, because look, if you do believe that, if they say, yes, you do deserve, that person's not your friend. That person does not have a high opinion of you. Like, you just saved yourself a lot of times. Oh, okay. Well, this is the last time we'll be speaking. Have you ever run across conversations like that?
No, thankfully, the Christians that I know who I consider friends, well, actually, I've never specifically, the Christians who are still friends of mine, I've never specifically asked them that question. So it may be worthwhile. But I think it speaks to, and you see this again, like on call-in shows like The Line, you can almost hear their brain malfunctioning. You can hear something's going on where they realize they're about to walk into, for lack of a better word, like a trap. They're about to have to admit that they have a better set of morals than the God that they worship.
Yep.
And they have to fall back on what's, kind of referred to as the divine command theory, which is anything God says goes. Doesn't matter. Like any reasonable, compassionate, empathetic person would know that this is wrong. But if God does it, it's okay. It's okay it's wrong to kill babies. Like abortion's evil, it's wrong. But God can kill babies all day long because he's God. He can kill David and Bathsheba's son as a punishment to David because, you know, he's God. And there is no reasonable response to those kinds of questions. And it's hard for them to admit that it's unreasonable. And that's why there are some Christians, and if I were still Christian, this is probably what I would be. I would be like, I don't worship the Bible. I worship God. I believe that the God I worship is a loving, empathetic God. And I think there are aspects of the Bible that get it right. And I think the Bible was our best shot at trying to explain it, but it doesn't get it all right. And where it seems completely obvious that this is not a loving being, that's just man getting it wrong. And for a lot of Christians, that's a slippery slope they don't want to go down, because then you can just decide what parts of the Bible you throw in and out.
They're right.
They do that anyway, though. They do that anyway.
They do it anyway, yes.